So let us begin with day 5, session 10. Uh, I would like to invite our speaker, Professor Deepak. So we welcome you, sir.
No, thank you, ma'am.
I invite Gayatri Madam to introduce our resource person. Gayatri Madam.
Yeah, ma'am. Jai Shri Gurudev. Good evening, one and all. It's my honor to welcome our speaker, Deepak P. Sir is an assistant professor at the National Institute of Engineering, Mysore, Karnataka, where Sir has been contributing to academic and research community since February 2017. Sir expertise span across a range of modern technological fields, including AI, ML, cloud computing, and data science and software development. As a passionate researcher and mentor, Sir has played a pivotal role in developing Android educational initiatives at NIE, and under Sir's guidance, his students achieved remarkable success, securing second place in the Great Indian Hackathon 2022 organized by Microsoft Azure Developers Community at VVCE, Mysore. Sir is also the project coordinator for the Information System Security Association and the National Cyber Safety and Security Standards, where Sir leads initiatives aimed at enhancing cyber security education. Beyond its academic role, Sir has expertise in software engineering, having previously worked as a software engineer at Cisco Software Services Private Limited. Sir is deeply involved in teacher training programs and blended learning initiatives, ensuring the students receiving a comprehensive and up-to-date education in both theory and practice. With a passion for innovation and commitment to during academic excellence, Sir continues to inspire students, collaborate with industry leaders in advanced fields of technological education. Now, I request you to take over, sir.
No, thank you, ma'am. Jai Shri
Thank you.
Gurudev. So let me share the screen.
Yeah.
Is the screen visible?
Yes, visible. Deepak, you are most welcome.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good evening, everyone. Myself,
Sir,
Deepak.
Deepak is our alumni, sir.
Hello.
Super. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
please go ahead, Deepak.
Thank you. So, good evening, everyone. So, today's topic is on the called as ethical considerations in AI, right? So, the main intention of ethics. So, why the ethical thinking should come in the field of LLMs or any AI technology? So, let's begin with the basics of what is an ethics. So, ethics appears like an historic concept. So, before understanding what's an AI ethics, let's focus on what is ethics first. So in short, ethics is a subfield of philosophy that provides us with a framework for deciding what is moral and what is not. So while this may sound as an abstract concept, so its main specific meaning with respect to the technology. So here, AI ethics is a field of application where moral frameworks are to be developed properly with the use of technological tools in a fair, accountable, transparent, and they should respect human values with respect to the system. So let's see what is an AI and why we have to interpret this AI. So this ability of interpreting the AI models should also considered as an important concept in the field of any software development. Because if we do not have an ethical development means the system gonna fail and it will interrupt in the process of production. So as we see recently, many European countries are having some major regulations in the field of AI. So let's start with the main intention of our AI. So AI is nothing but a booming model with large language designs which is transforming industries like healthcare to finance and other various sectors by unlocking the possibilities that were unimaginable just a decade ago. So with this immense power of artificial intelligence with respect to computation, so comes great human responsibilities to ensure that these technologies are developed properly and used ethically. So let's see, as we know that our brain is also a part of AI now. So everything, whatever things happens, so people starts to think in the field of technology. So example is this screen. So suppose if you want to chat with a virtual assistant or any assistive technologies, so the first question that will comes from the service provider is nothing but hello, I am a bot, or they may ask you the like particular service providers names like hello, I am a Microsoft assistant technological assistant. So what may I help you for you today? So now the main intention of providing this assistant is for generalization the data that is being generated by the company. Suppose during this time, if we interrupt with the chats and if we provide any sensitive data or the other questions of asking apart from general things, they won't answer. Or if they are providing some data which are private or personal information, that data may be sent as a resource to the data centers and that data can be leaked. So during this process, so we have to have some ethical data confirmations before sending into the servers. So the major effects of AI is on the individuals, societies, and also on the environment, which it takes this or which have to tackle these challenges, and it's crucial to think broadly about ethics in the context of technology. So about the interplay between the screen like people and systems, human to humans, and human to machine, and machine to machines, and even machine to machine interactions that impacts human society with respect to AI. So now comes the part of why ethics should be played. So before we go with the agenda, so these are the following agendas which we study in this today's presentation. So the first one is 5 principles of AI, and second one is ethical AI and copyright dilemma, and third one is digital transformations, and fourth one is right AI approach and its principles. Fifth one, what are the actionable policies and tools, IT tools we have to check, and the last one is the business councils. So before we start with the concept, as you all know that the major highlight of the artificial intelligence came into the process of computation. So when it comes to the computation, why we take up the applications to the deployment, when we take any source or software or any data to the data centers, these are the major 5 things we have to concentrate on the data part. So either the data is being taken care, either the data is resource responsible from the company, and the data is being traceable, and the data is it equitable and governable by the particular countries or states, and is it reliable to send this data to some other resource, transfer this data to some other systems. So the major drawback here is the main area is the traction of this data. So here the major concept comes are, so one is whether the data is having bias, or the data which is being sent is having some security flaws, or any privacy data is being leaked, or any misinformation which is being sent to the web browsers or websites. So if any misinformation is sent means the data may be spread across like a ignite. So that data can be fledged and it will be spread like the for all the people with a particular data. So now these data, whatever the things that is being transferred or which is being sent as a misinformation concept should be traced, and before posting these data, the system should ethically check whether this data is true or not. Then only it has to upload this data to the data centers or to the websites. So next comes what are the copyright and the lawsuits in digital area. As many of you know that whatever the content which they have been developed in the research or publication of any conference papers, or so major drawback is we are facing is in the field of many of them are using the ChatGPT tools or any AI tools to generate their data. But nowadays the data is also being captured, and there's many of them are giving the fake data to the conference and papers. So to overcome these things, so we have to use these ethical AI models and what are the copyright contents and from where these data are being sourced. So if we found out these data from which is the sourcing point, from there only the lawsuit will actions takes place in the respective countries. So along with this, the ethics, so the government should also play an important role. As the question says, our civil servants are ready for digital transformation? Yeah, but they are not with respect to the technology, they are with respect to the policies that they may take. Here is an example of securities attacks which on different technologies. So if they say these things to the government servants or any civil servants, they won't understand anything. They will see the outcome, based on the outcome, they will form the policies. So to understand these things to the civil servants or government servants, so the AI brought one different types of category called as explainable AI. So which we'll discuss later. And to overcome these loss information about the digital transformation, nowadays there's another topic called as agentic AI or agent AIs. Okay, so these agent AIs are majorly used to take the data and to select the data properly and to provide a decision smarterly with respect to systems. So here these type of opportunities which is found in the AI is also raised some profound ethical concerns like bias in the data or embedding some source data and threatening the human rights data with respect to the countries and inequality of the data sets in the system. So earlier in the last year, AI 2024, the year of the modern change to the world, which happened. And during this time, major things were affected with respect to the legal and ethical considerations fields. So who should take responsibility of AI now? So to overcome this, so this year 2020-25 is a revolutionary beginning for all the countries and majorly European and USA are preparing already specific acts which has been already deployed in the last 10 days. And they are bringing up those changes to all the software companies to affect these changes. So let's see the major differences between now what is an ethical AI and a responsible AI. So here we take about the attributes called 4 attributes. One is focus, and second one is principles, third one is implementation, and fourth one is business impact. So here the major thing with respect to the focus is ethical AI thinks about only morality, fairness, and transparency, whereas responsible AI thinks from the practical implementations and what are the hazards or safety measures which we have to take from the practical applications and what are the compliances which we see. So with respect to the principles, both the responsible AI and ethical AI have the same principles except the 2 things. Here at the ethical AI, we respect the human values by considering ethical, whereas in the responsible AI, we take about the what is the risk assessment we are facing with respect to humans and how we are governing these risks to the country's policies. So implementation is nothing but we are having some ethical standards and there are some legal ISO frameworks to develop some products or softwares and why we need to take up the societal value for generating a particular product. And these things comes under the implementation. And the last part is the business impact. So what is the process of enhancing this trust and providing this improved decision to encourage the innovations? That comes under the responsible AI. Whereas in the ethical AI, we promote justice and equality to the operational methods. The overall view of this responsible AI and ethical AI is nothing but ethical AI establishes the principles for AI development and its use case, whereas responsible AI ensures they are implemented in practical. So this is a major abstract of difference between a responsible AI and ethical AI. So next, let us see what are the challenges and concerns we should face in the field of AI. So when building any frameworks, ethical frameworks, enterprises or companies encounter many stumbling blocks, which in the example is in a generative AI tools and how these generative AI tools should be used. Earlier, they didn't have any policies. So what happened was the data was spreading like anything. And nowadays, these data are being contributed properly with respect to the system, like distribution of harmful content that can be created by anyone through text prompts. So this has to be avoided, and copyright and legal exposure to content images. Sometimes we see the images can be modified, or the content can be modified, or particular lines of coding also can be modified. But what is proof that these systems are correct or not? So we have to validate it. So to validate these things, we have nowadays have a specific tools. So we'll use those things. And the last challenge, third challenge is data privacy. So the data privacy violations is majorly contributed by the large language models, which are being trained on the virtual assistants nowadays. Everything, whatever the things we see about to work, all people will take out the concept of virtual assistant like Google Assistant or Chat GPTs or many Microsoft Copilots, etc. So during this time of sending their data to their servers, many personal identifiable informations, or sometimes we call it as PII. So these data are being considered as a private data, which are being sent to the some other people. These people will leak their data and cause some violations to the countries. So these challenges are to be taken consideration before the data is being sent to the data centers. So, and the fifth concern is, or challenge is nothing but what is the bias which is trained on the data set, and how these data are being fed into the AI models. So this is also as a particular concern in the model of AI. And what are the different data provenance issues which is being generated, and how is it being governed or questionable. So the last main important challenge is many people doesn't understand this concept. So we have to make sure that these data or challenges or AI things are to be taught to all the people starting from the school level itself, so that students should understand what is the thing and whether is it ethical to use these things or not. So example is AI explainability and interpretability like ChatGPT. Everything nowadays people are going to ask the same thing. Sometimes they have to use their basic sense of skills, which is which is required for the people to understand certain things. If they do not understand those things, then they have to go with the AI tools to get their data. So why this concept comes into the picture called AI pipelines? So for any software or any application development, so the major thing we face is whether after developing the system or a software, whether the system is validating it, or whether when it is being deployed, whether all the models are being sent properly to the production site and it is being validated and properly checked. So sometimes all the majority data in the production side comes under the incident database or AI incident DB. Many things will be flawed. So to overcome these things, so the major risk which we face is whenever this data is being sent to the production, so we call this as data pipelines. So these data pipelines may be broken, or some data can be sent where a few data cannot be sent due to some issues, depending upon the tools which we are using. So during these things, testing is also plays an important role. Whether the particular data before sending into the production, how the data is being tested properly and written particular compliance reports, whether particular data is not fed into the system and enduring some particular reviews of the data set. After that only the data should be sent. So security and compliance, which we see as already siloed and inconsistent, are being sent to the projects and teams, which we differentiated with respect to the team, saying that this is not done by our team. So, and sometimes it can be generated by AI tools also. So depending upon the particular pipelines that are being broken, so there should be a specific AI act which should also be measured by the company to make sure that non-compliance things have been happened, and it has to be checked and reviewed properly. So to overcome this, so the first tool we see is called as Giscard tool. So this is a particular tool which usually detects the performances, bias and securities in the AI models, and it does. You need not to do any testing cases. The testing cases will be done by the system itself with respect to evaluation of reports and other things. And it uses major standard methodologies for optimizing our models with respect to different ML operations and IT tools. And if there is no complaints with respect to prototype and deployment, then in the production, there will be no incidents that's gonna flow to the system. So before we start with the example of the, we'll have one application development today. As the screen shows, in the prototype, some test models will have less than 8 lines of code. Sometimes these systems may have flaw because the inbuilt libraries will be there. So we will have one application called sentimental analysis application today. After the next slide's explanation, we will see how these things are being generated. So now, after evaluating all the testing and deployment models, there should be a particular framework, and these frameworks should be very fully controlled, and this with respect to the AI risk. So example is nothing but the 4 principles of trust. We call it as trustworthy AI framework. The 4 major steps are: one is what are the strategies we are following and design and planning on the data. Example, use case explorations, and what is the selection of data, what is the risk and impact of this assessment data, and whether this data is being sent to the corporate business, and are they being reviewed by the governance corporates and policies to design the AI principles, and technical requirements also. So the second step is, after planning all these things, whatever the data that's being fed into the system, or is it being sourced properly, collected properly, merged, and are the data is being accessed properly with respect to the policies and regulations. And the third one is, after planning and design, we go with a generation of algorithms, whether what to focus on. So as the logic and instructions are proper, which are being connected to the data sets, and selection of the particular models, build, train, and testing the model results, and the accuracy improvisations or bias thresholds. To overcome all these things, there should be a particular documentation which should be generated by the system also. And the last one is the deployment and governance. Here, the major thing is testing and the data into the production, and how to mitigate the model's drift for hacking and data breaches from third parties. Sometimes whenever we are deploying any data, we'll be using the third party applications, or if you are not installed the third party applications also, by default, some of the browsers will have their data, which is considered as a data breach, which will be sent to third parties. So to understand these things, there should be incident responses. We should go from the browser itself and preparing the workforce properly. So let's see one example of application development. Is the screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir, visible.
Okay, so today we'll develop one application with less than 10 lines of code. Nowadays we can have today we'll discuss one application called, as the name says, building a sentimental analysis app using two ML tools called Gradio and Hugging Face. So as many of you know, Hugging Face is nothing but a library of data models which is being there, whereas Gradio is nothing but for any ML applications, we'll use the user interface. For any applications which we want to develop, so an interface should be there for the users, right? So to have this for ML applications only, there's a particular software called Gradio. So before we start with the Gradio, so all the LLM models or any AI or ML models that is being generated, all comes under the first model called as transformers. So transformers is an architectural model, which is the basic model to generate any AI models or any ML applications. So first we have to install this transformers architecture. So first thing is, as you know, to install the Python, so pip, we use the pip command, pip install transformers. So just run the cell. So you'll have the installation of this cell. So as I've already run, so it's showing the requirements already satisfied. So it installs all the necessary libraries which are required for the applications. And second thing is, so the first thing is we have installed the basic architecture model. So second one is, so we have to install the pipelines to send our data properly. So to do that, we have the Hugging Face pipelines. So this pipeline is there from the transformers itself. So we write the code from transformers, import pipeline. And as you all know that for any machine learning models, there will be a particular classifiers. So classifiers are nothing but the algorithms. So these algorithms will have a specific role. So as we are running sentimental analysis, what I'm doing is I'm directly calling that algorithm here, pipeline of inside a double quote, I will write sentiment analysis. So now what happens is, so if you run this cell, automatically the data from the pipeline analyzes the tokenizations, summarizations, and indexing of the data. Everything will be done within the pipeline itself. So you need not to do anything on the specifying the particular models like should I use regular expressions? What are the other regularization expressions I have to do to extract the data or to validate the data? So these data will generate 4 types of files. One is config.json, JavaScript object notation. Here the files will have the particular models. So here there is we are not sending any particular AI model, hence the name no model was supplied. Okay. So and all the data, as Raju sir said, with respect to the mathematics, all the things comes under the matrix data. So majorly we call this as tensors and tensor models. So these tensor models are to be sent properly. So hence the name model.safe tensors. If it is 100%, then only the system will run. If it is not 100%, the system won't run. So as I told, every keywords will have a particular tokenizers, and this vocabulary.text contains all the vocabulary English words or any different languages models also. So this data is being checked. And the other important thing is, whenever you are, as we are using only sentiment analysis segment, we are generating some particular, we are giving the input as some text, and we are checking for the classification, whether the sentence is positive, negative, or neutral. Suppose if you are using any images, so the images will have graphic pixels. So these type of models are to be considered by the GPU. So here automatically at the end, you can see that device is set to use CPU. So sometimes we should use both the things, and very few cases if you are using images, videos and all, then CPU won't be enough to sustain the model to train. So we have to go for GPU. If you are having only CPU means, then you have to install the CUDA programming. So based on the CUDA programming and integration of the CPU, system will run. So now we have installed, prepared the pipeline. So let's write a function now. So what is the function? Whatever things I give as an input, so that is nothing but the utterance words. So for this we have to write a Python function. So as you know, the keyword is define function. So I'm calling the inputs as the utterance parameter. So what output should be, it has to classify the sentence is positive, negative, or see when I highlight down the classifier model, it automatically gives example, this movie is distinctly good, label positive, score 100, or greater than 90 or things. So these things are being evaluated by the system. So now let's run this function. So it's run. Now the major important thing is, so we have to provide an interface to the web to integrate these sentences as an input to the system. So to do that, first install Gradio, pip install Gradio. So it will install the Gradio models. If there is any update, it will collect the recent updates to the systems also. So after restarting the models, okay, some of the models may be have link new, like this following 5 to 6 lines has been updated. So this I have to restart my sessions. So after this, so this is the last line of code. So what is the thing is, we are importing the Gradios GR. So I am giving a sentence like descriptions. You can give any description, whatever you like. And the major important thing is, as it is an application, so GR is nothing but the Gradio tool dot interface. So this interface, what I am doing is, so I have three parameters here. First parameter is function. I have to pass the function first, and in the input. So as this application is with respect to the text content, so input will be text, and output is also what is the output we have to get, either positive, negative, or neutral. So I can modify the things like I can give the output like I should be only text also, or sometimes I can give it as voice, or I can give it as videos or audios. So these things will be modified depending upon the problems we do. So I'm giving one title parameter saying the sentiment analyzer. So it will be shown as the web screen first, and description is nothing but the thing, whatever the thing we are giving in the descriptions. So once this is run, so we have to launch this application. So just give app.launch and share equal to true. So why we have to give share equal to true means sometimes when we are developing these applications, sometimes we have to integrate these applications to external tools. So at that time, it's not possible to generate an API to do those things. So for that purpose, we will have a public URL seeing like this. So once I run this system, so it will generate a public URL, and these public URLs will be majorly having the production up to 84 hours. So as it wasn't having the updated library, I have to restart session. So all the code will be run once again, and we'll see the screen once the output is generated. As you can see now, the system is generated the code properly and there is no errors. So now you can see there are two things. One is the system will generate the output in the screen itself like this. So this is our local system. And if you want to integrate this application to any Android applications or any other things, so you will have a public URL. So if you click on this, it will go to the new tab. So here the same thing, whatever we see here at the bottom will be shown as it is, but you can integrate this link to the Android automatically. Okay, so now utterance means nothing but whatever things that I want to give. So I will give this as the FDP is being done properly. So or any sentence whichever you want to give, you can give English or Kannada, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, any language is being already integrated into the vocabulary text. So if you give the particular sentence and if you click on submit at the output end, it will generate the what is the exact label or classification which has to be given to the system. So as this sentence is a positive, those who have worked under the field of NLP, natural language processing, they would have understand these things. So all the words, keywords will be tokenized and some words will be eliminated. And after this, it will check for the particular positive words and negative words. If there are no negative words, then the label will be classified as positive and it will measure the recall and values of accuracy and it will generate the score by giving the accuracy formula here. So considering the particular whether it had a false positive values, true positive values, false negative, true negative. Based on these four key attributes, the system will generate the scores and this is called as accuracy of our system. So it's generating 98.9. So similarly, we can give any other sentences if you want to check. So after giving the sentence, click on submit. So the system will label the output positive, negative or neutral depending upon the input which we are feeding to the AI model. So as you can see that, so this is an example of building an application with less than 10 lines of code. Nowadays, these things are easy for the students to do these things, but they should have a basic of the programming languages information and they have to work properly with respect to the codings. Because some information, if they don't know, also they will use the chat GPTs and other things. But if they don't know to analyze the things properly, means it's of no use of generating some higher end applications. So this is an example of hands-on session for the application. So during this time, if I send any my private mobile data or some date of birth or any other data center, what is happening is you are sending this data to the system which is being sent to the data centers. From the data centers, the data leak can happen through the third-party services which are being installed in the data centers. So to do overcome this, we'll use some other technologies in the AI. So which will go through next. So this is an example of a hands-on session with less than 10 lines of code. So next example is, as I told, so a virtual assistant will be there. So you will have the data and sometimes to confirm some information, what happens is the chatbots or chat assistants, they may ask you the private information of yours. Sometimes on doing some other information thinking, we may give the personal data. So these data can be a private information which will be sent to the data and data leaks can happen. So to overcome these things, so we have two technologies. Okay, at the end of the presentations, we'll study those two. So before going with the models learning, so we have to have the particular approach models. What are the particular approaches we have to see with respect to the AI model? So we have 10 core principles which comes under the ethics of AI, and these are called as right AI approach. So the first approach is called as proportionality and do no harm. So here what's the major agenda is, whatever the data that is being given to the system, whether this data is necessary to take the legitimate action and have the risk assessment has been done to prevent harms to the system or to the data. Second one is safety and security. So this comes under the PII, personal identifiable informations, or any data that may feed to the systems, to the society biased. So these things are to be checked properly. So there's a safety and security should be there. The third one is right to privacy and data protection. So once the data is being sent to the system, means there should be particular act of data where the privacy data should be not sent to the third party applications, and whether the system is having the data protection acts and is it being established from the provider's end only, because consumers or the users do not know these things. Also third party applications don't have any regulations, so they will have their data. The fourth approach is, so each rule should be given by multiple stakeholders, and this has to be governed and collaborated properly by all the countries, like laws, national sovereignties, and to the particular approaches which we will face in the AI should be properly governed by the system. If you're having only single person means, so he may, depending upon the situation, he may do the data modifications. So instead of that, we should have multiple stakeholders, and all the stakeholders should validate the application. Then only the system will be having a collaborative output to the AI models. So the fifth one is responsibility and accountability. And here all the data after governance and policies have been done. So either the system is responsible and is it being traceable and auditing is being done to the systems or not before sending it to the production site. The sixth approach is transparency. Whether this data, sometimes what happens is when we are as we are in the field of education, some data will not be given for us as a research. Even if you are doing some research and the data is present in some other UK or US countries, some data we won't send to your system because it's a particular legal authentic right from the particular country saying that this data should not be sent to the transfer to some other country. So what we have to do is we have to go over there and we have to work, and after that only the data given access will be given to you. So these things are comes under the transparency and explainable act of law under the privacy, safety, and security. So seventh one is how to determine the human oversight, whether the system is having any ultimate responsibility of the humans, or whether based on the data or based on the hardware models or based on the devices which they bring from other countries. So all the things has to be monitored, and based on that the data AI model will be given some determinations to the system. So sustainable comes under the model of UN's United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or in general we call it as SDGs. So all the systems after implementation, there should be no impact on the nature or thing. If it is having some impact also, there should be a very less comparatively, it should be less than 20 to 25%. If it is crossing more than that, means the system will not be given to a production side. So awareness and literacy. So all the people on the public should be able to understand the data and the whatever the things that are being done by a particular company, and you should make the information accessible to the education, civic engagements, and you have to improvise these trainings and information literacy to all the public companies or public people to ensure that they should have some literacy of the particular updated technologies. The last one is the fairness and non-discrimination. Sometimes, so fairness and discrimination happens in both the companies in the research and everything. So here, how do you justify the things based on justice, fairness, and whether this applicable to all the benefits? For suppose sometimes every job cannot be done by everyone. So there are specific actors which are being there for the specific roles. They have to do their activities. Sometimes it can be interchanged, but after interchanging the jobs also, if they are working properly, then there won't be any bias. If there's a particular bias in the working mix, so discrimination happens automatically. So to overcome all these things, there should be some fairness and transparencies in the data with respect to the AI models. So after this, we should generate the key policies. So key policies are nothing but, so in all the different models of working, So everywhere we have a policy on how to work and how to access the data. Is it legal to access this data, or a wrong thing which we are doing? So to overcome all these things, so there should be some actionable policies which have to be taken. So these we call it as 11 key policies areas for policies on AI models. Like it should be comes under the ethical impact assessment. First is the public should have their data. So the data questionnaire should be given to the public first. So they have to evaluate the questionnaires and they have to give the answers. Once if it is measured properly, that public are accepting the data means, then only it has to be sent to the second part called governance by the stewardship by the particular governance companies. So after these things are done, so the third policy is nothing but your data policies. We should do some policies on the data, that the data should be encrypted and it should not be sent to the third party applications. After this, the development and cooperation takes place with respect to the different countries, and is it being environmentally and ecosystemly done, and does the policies having any gender biases or cultural biases. Sometimes we see these things. So cultural biases happens when we see example is some uh, other countries people comes to the concerts. So what happens is they play their particular musics, right, because of their knowledge what they have seen. Suppose if they tell you to play some other musics or some other songs which are not from their domain, means there won't be any things that happen and it won't be give a profound output in the system. So these things happen. So what we have to do is there should be both the combinations of the things when we are going to some applications or any public events that are going to take place. So education and research is one of the major highlight of the policies which has been recently done. Like we see Australia and recently Switzerland, other countries are doing the major drawbacks of the chat GPT is like kids are using these tools for assessments and they are losing their basic thinking capacities. So they are using the major AI Act on this education and research and communication and information spreading of false data, and whether this data impacts on economy and labor like jobs, etc. And the last is whether this system is having a healthy and social well-being to the country or not. So these are major 11 key policy areas which will be integrated towards the development of AI responsibly. So after all these things, so we have how to measure these things, AI models. So we have earlier we had only two models called RAM and EIA. So nothing but readiness assessment methodology and ethical impact assessment. And recently we had this ROAM approach called, sometimes the human rights is also one of the important factor to analyze the AI model. So the first one is called recent is human based or human rights based, open, accessible and multi-stakeholder. So in short, we call it as ROAM. So it is nothing but an evidence based consultative approach for building and policy advising by the humans to the particular companies like multi-stakeholders for generating any applications. So they will have a set of questionnaires and they will generate the data from the public. Then if it is true only, the system is going to take up the production of a particular software. So the second one is called RAM or readiness assessment methodology. This is a tool developed to help the countries to understand how the country is already prepared to apply AI ethically and responsibly by the citizens. It includes a different range of assessment like quantitative, qualitative questions, which is used to design and gather the informations based on different dimensions of the country's ecosystems, legal and regulatory affairs, social and cultural, economic, scientific, education and technological and infrastructural dimensions. So the last one is a methodology, practical methodology called as EIA or ethical impact assessment. So here the major thing is the entire process of design, develop and deploying of an AI system is measured by the assessment of risk. What risk is being taken before and after the production, what are the risks that are being faced by the public. So based on these two things, so they will see what are the dangers that's going to approach, which is being the arrival of new generative tools, is it being experimental on the people or on the data or the public. So these things assessment will be done by the EIA methodology. So these are the major three practical methodologies of the AI models, which should be done by the assessment. And every business will have the business councils. So the major purpose is within the AI industries, so all the developed AI models are utilized in a proper way or not. and whether this system is upholding the ethical standards for the country or the business. So currently co-chaired by Microsoft and Telefonica, a particular council is committed to strengthen the technical capability of ethics and AI in designing and implementing on the EAA models. Okay. So, and the other two models are being recently updated. So in the last year, they are updated only for EAA by company Microsoft and Telefonica. So examples of ethical dilemmas like biased AI on gender data and with respect to the court of law, how the system is facing AI law that is being faced by the court or the people, and is it judicial system facing many issues. So to overcome all these things, dilemmas will happen in the AI. So, and the third one is the major thing which we are facing is the art. So generating the data code or modifying the art of creativity in the art and sector. So gaming industries, all these things are being updated, and it's also one of the dilemma. And the last one is the autonomous car. Is it the sensing of the environment, whether the data is being fetched properly or not, etc. So in order to overcome all these things, so UNESCO and UNITAR. So as you all know, UNESCO is also public thing. We majorly use it for improvising the global AI thing. So UNITAR is nothing but United Nations for Training and Assessment and Research. So this they prepared a micro-learning course on AI and human rights, and this course was being given to the young adults between the age of 16 to 24 to analyze, and it was translated into 5 languages to understand the freedom of expression of data, how these things are being evaluated, privacy and equality of the systems. And these things majorly improved and applicable in the MENA region, which is called as Middle East North African regions, like South Africa and other European countries. So this was a pilot program led by UNITAR, and the major importance of expanding this course was to make sure this AI technology is being understood by everyone publicly and by all the peoples to analyze the more efficiency of the AI properly. And last thing is when it comes to the countries and other things, so digital policies play a major role. As we saw during the 22, 21 and all, there was a huge prominence of digital policies that takes place through the TikTok applications. And nowadays also there is so much of digital policies that are being done on the application sites. So is our country is already ready to take up this responsibility? Yes, many of the things are being recently developed, but the assessment is not yet being done. So in order to overcome this, all the people should be able to ready to contribute the particular questions, and they have to be ready to give the particular truth data to the country also. Sometimes sending the false data to the country is also an issue to the system. So to overcome this, so we go with the monitoring process. So here, how does the system is being observed? So what happens is in the front end, so only monitoring takes place. So monitoring means only we see the front side of the data, what is being done. It is not that only monitoring the data, we have to find out the pattern, whether the data pattern is being changed. So this observability of data is also plays an important role in the AI models generation. So after generation of these data, so this comes under the LLM. So this is nothing but large language models. So after this large language models is been done, so we have to evaluate the large language models. So this comes under the following different pillars of data observability, like freshness, distribution of data properly, what is the maximum big data of volume which we are sending into the sites, and schema or schemaless and lineage data. So major thing is usually we see through monitoring. So from now onwards, we have to go through the observability of data. So after all these things, the system was a compromised one of AI models. So what happened was they came with three different AI technologies called explainable AI, responsible AI, and sovereignty AI. So first one is explainable AI. Whether the trust in AI model, how well we have understood these things, or sometimes it's also represented by XAI, and it majorly implies on the complexity checking of the AI models. Example here. So in the earlier thing, we had a data and we had the machine learning process, and we used to give some functions. Either decision or recommendation was done by the system, and after this output used to come. Whereas in XAI, explainable AI, what we have to do is after the model is having a training data, it has to go through the new machine learning process, not to the old machine learnings, And after this machine learning should be sent to the explainable model. Without having any functions, learned functions, directly we send this data to the models. And once the model is having a particular interface, this interface will be checked by the users, like the following set of questions. I understand why this thing is being done. I understand why not. What are the things that are not there in the system? I know when you should be succeeding. I know when the system should fail, and whom to trust, and what's the error that's been takes place in the output from the user. So once all this data output comes, so this data will be sent once again to the explainable AI model to modify the applications on the AI things. So once we are sending all this data to the system, means it goes to the data centers. So in this we have three things. One is data at rest, whether at the end of the data is it secure, and data in motion or data in transit. During the data transit also there should be security, and when the data is being used, there should be also security. So this comes under separate research domain called confidential computing, so which comes under the privacy of data using federated learning. So to overcome these applications properly and succeeding it in production site in a proper way, so AI liability frameworks takes place into the picture. So here we use two major regulations. One is PLD and AILD. The first one is Product Liability Directive. So it majorly introduces on the strict liability of defective AI systems and its softwares. And the second one is proposed AI liability directive. Majorly it uses the negligent usage of the models, and update should be done on these things. So on the next type of AI is called the sovereign AI. So sovereign AI is nothing but it refers to the nation's capability, whether the people are ready to take up the role of producing AI tools, and depending upon their own infrastructures, data, workforce, and business networks. So along with explainable AI and sovereign AI, so there was no trustworthy model that was taken place. To build a merge between the explainable AI and sovereign AI, we came up with a trustworthy AI. So trustworthy AI is nothing but it's an approach on the AI development to prioritize the safety and transparency of the people who interact with the models. So we have three things in the principles of trustworthy. One is privacy, as you all know, data should be private. Safety and security. So the data should not avoid the unintended harm and malicious threats to the countries or to the public. And the last one is making a transparent model to the system. So now comes the second tool called as guardrails. So these guardrails are nothing but example is I have sent a pic here. So in the prompt, so assume he's gonna type the sentence as "You are the worst AI ever." So response is coming like, "I'm sorry to hear that. How can I improve?" So this is nothing but without having any guard to the AI models. So if you're having any guardrails to the system, means suppose if you give any prompt saying the same sentences, so it says in the response, "Sorry, but I can't assist with that." So this way of ethically avoiding the people's prompts sending some random or unavoidable data to the system. So these types of guardrails are majorly used to safety control, to monitor and dictate a user's interaction in the LLM application. So these are nothing but a set of programmable models on rule-based systems, which sits between the users and the foundational models. So we have different categories of rails. Topical rail here based on the topics. So it should avoid the addressing of or generating a data. Moderation of the rail is nothing but once the responses are sent to the system, whether the system is having ethically inappropriate languages or some information like providing some wrong content to the system. Is it being modified, the wrong content, and it is being spread? And the third one is fast checking and hallucination rail. It avoids providing answers that are either false or hallucination. And secure execution rail. Here, without accessing any third-party services, the data should be secure. And jailbreaking rail. Here, ensure that robustness of malicious user attacks like such as prompt injections, etc., should be checked before sending the data to the system. And the last one is format rail. Here we ensure that prompts and responses are conformed to the specified structure schema like JSON and other models. And these are the basic rails. So we have advanced rails also. So to avoid all these guardrails, so company NVIDIA started with a cybersecurity framework called NVIDIA Morpheus. majorly on generating a framework for building cybersecurity applications to the AI models and to protect all the sensitive information on their networks. So along with this, there was another framework called ELSI, so ethical, legal, and societal implications for emerging technologies. All the responsible development of emerging technologies should be performed actively, engaged, and it should be checked for the potential end users and the public during the program development process to ensure that the implications and perspectives are considered properly or not. So these things comes under the protection of data. Sometimes what happens is the data in the web may have been falsely data which is being spread. So that is nothing but misinformations. Misinformation can spread like a wildfire, which can break the firebreak directly into the web browsers. To overcome all these things, we have a particular tool called Sidecar or Sidecar Pro. So what these tools does is it ensures that whatever the things we are searching in the web, whether the information which you are seeing is proper or wrong. So it will check the data and it will send only the proper content, and it stops the blocking of the wrong content into the websites. And this is one of the tool. So depending upon all the web, we have Gemini, Claude, and all the things. The system will have the data and it will check through the system and will send only the proper content into the model. And the last tool is called Giscard. So your Giscard is nothing but it's a testing platform, as I told at the application development in the concept. So in order to need not to test the inputs or the models, automatically the feature will have this is an application or library called Giscard library. So majorly use it to protect the companies against biased performance and security in the AI models. So a major outcome of this tool is to defend the vision of responsible AIs on the economic performance of the companies while also respecting the rights of citizens' data. And so this is an example of the screen of how a guardrail and Giscard application is being used. So it uses all the models at the left side. It shows tonal detection, confidential detection, jailbreak, PII, PI data loss, general fact checkers, etc. So these all the different models of data that are being sent to the third parties will be checked before sending into the data centers. Okay. So let's see the concept of these things. So now, so I have to install this Giscard into the model. So to install this Giscard, you should have a API from the LLM models. It can be any OpenAI API keys or Gemini API keys or Giscard API keys. You can take any API keys. After, based on the data set, so we will have these for different types of, based on the data, the system automatically checks. These are the following issues that are being detected. Like 8 issues are being detected in a particular data. So, and along with this, we will have robustness and it will show what type of details is being fed. So if you click on show details, it will give the details like what are the models that are being sent, like inappropriate spaces or other things, etc. are being generated. So these are simple basic things. Along with this or control character injection attacks, we call these things, and adding some other symbols like /n or adding these symbols like boxes into the inputs. So these along with the text. So these are the major attacks which we face. So these things will be generated by the system, by the Giscard itself. Okay, you can see here, once we have a data at the end, it will show Giscard.scan, and based on the different models which you run, so you have to give that model to the scanning part. So here, once the scan is done to the model, it displays the particular scan results and it will detect the different types of attacks like robustness and what is the harmful data that is being there in the data and what you should do. Everything will be shown here. Okay. So these are some of the examples of using a Giscard testing platform for AI models. And sometimes you have sensitive informations and stereotypes data like biased data, and agent may go wrong at that time. The data may have biased data on the genders also. So these things will be always detected in the models. And along with these things, you will have the hallucination and misinformation. Sometimes the system may have false data that can be sent to the system, to the web. To check these things also, we have these models along with robustness, as already discussed, harmful and sensitive informations like the things and prompt injections. So your prompt injections are nothing but giving a wrong input to the system to check what happens to the AI model. So these things will be automatically checked by the systems to have all those 10 categories of testing AI models information. Based on the models, if all the things are proper, then only data will be sent. So this is an example of testing platform for AI models called GISCard application or GISCard library. Okay, and so this is regarding the basics of AI models testing and analysis. So so this ends my session. If you have any other questions, you can ask. So totally we learned about 3 different tools. One is Gradio to have the GUI interface or user interface for ML models. And the second one is guardrails. So guardrails are nothing but to check the data, whether the data is being sent properly. And in order to do the testing also, we use GISCard library to check the testing of AI models. So if you have any other questions, means you can ask now.
Participants, anybody is having any questions, kindly post in the chat box. Any queries from participants, kindly post in the chat box.
Chair, sir, any queries?
Madam,
Chair, sir?
we'll wait for 5 minutes, madam.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Sherry sir. Sherry sir.
Sir, yes, sir.
Sir, one person is raising hand. Please enable the mic, sir.
Okay, sir. Sir, you can ask
Thank you,
question.
sir. Thank you, sir. I was not able to post my question in chat box. I don't have a question, but I have a request. Can the resource person share this presentation in the group?
Yeah, we will share it, sir, at the end.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I was not able to write there. I don't know.
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, sir.
So let's summarize the major thing. So the major highlight of this ethical models is nothing but we have to accelerate these models and adoption of AI models in a proper way, and providing these partnership with industries, academic, and allies with respect to the different countries and partners. And we have to build a particular AI separate workforce to lead a particular countries to analyze the models we are using, the data privacy or etc. And let's connect, and major mission is to unleash the world's untapped potential in AI models or AI technology and build the trust on the framework of AI, like transparencies, inspection, and adoption. After these things only, we have to start with the building of models. So this is the last slide. So this example is nothing but I love AI. So AI is nothing but here. Based on how you see the thing in the model, based on that, we have to analyze the data and we have to mitigate the risk and responsibilities of the systems properly. Thank you.
Madam Lubna?
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible?
Okay. Okay, yes, ma'am.
On behalf of everyone here, I would like to sincerely thank you for today's session, sir. Your insights and expertise have been incredibly valuable, and we are all grateful for the time and effort you put into sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I thank the
As we come,
institute for providing me an opportunity to do for being a resource person for the Atal FTP program, and thank you for the department and to the organizers and to the institute for having a wonderful program on security and AI technologies. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
you,
you,
sir.
Deepak sir. Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir. We are able to hear you.
Yeah, thank you, Deepak sir. Even because of some problems with the resource person, actually, your session was planned for tomorrow, right?
Yeah. It's fine,
Yeah,
sir. It's
yeah.
not an issue for
You have accepted our request. Okay, really, we are grateful to you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay,
And we invite you once for our campus also, sir. Please visit our campus, the department.
Okay, sir. Sure, sir. We'll come and
Yeah. Please, sir. Thank
okay,
you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, Deepak.
Thank you, Ajay sir, and to all the organizing committee. Shall I end the session or?
Okay, sir. Thank you so
Okay.
much, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Shweta madam.
Thank you, sir.
Shweta madam.
As we come to the
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Lubna, you can continue.
Yeah, Lubna.
Okay. As we come to the end of today's session of our faculty development program, I would like to take a moment to thank all our distinguished resource persons and participants for their valuable contributions today. I thank our management, principal sir, and HODs for their continuous support. Dear participants, please be reminded that tomorrow's session will begin in afternoon at 2 p.m. Additionally, there will be a test at the end of the session. And regarding PPT, we will share PPT and recording at the end of our faculty development program. Please do fill the feedback form shared in the group. We look forward to having you all back tomorrow as we continue this journey of growth and learning together. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you.